we are with the 5-string banjo, the only indigenous American musical instrument. The idea of banjos came over in the brains of slaves from Africa, where they had drums and it had occurred to them to put strings on top of a drum. But the idea that made it American was this thing that looks like it's in the wrong place. This is the 5th string peg. On every other instrument I've ever seen, the strings become higher as they get closer away from your body. See that? They're going up. Well, finally the highest one is on the wrong side. See where my thumb is? Well, that allows all kinds of complexity and rhythm to enter into the picture. Because if I don't have this 5th string, if I want to set up a rhythm, I have to go boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom. And it's much more fun if you can do the in the boom, chicka up here. So that's what I'm doing, boom, chicka, boom. And this is the old way of playing it. It doesn't require any technological tools, but what happened to banjo playing along about the time I was born, which was 1941, was that back then they suddenly got the idea that they could play it with not just with their fingers, which they'd always been messing around with, but with these claws. Yeah, you see that? And the claws allow me to hit the strings with much more what do I want to say? Well, more loud and more regularity, because if you're like me, your fingernails sometimes break off, or right before a big show, the guy's nervous and he goes, oh shoot, I ruined my fingernail. So for bluegrass, you wouldn't use this tuning as much as you would use another one. So you also get to mess around with how do I want these 5 strings to be tuned. And there's a little peril in that, because once you change one of the strings, the tension on the head changes, for better or for worse, and everything kind of lifts up if you're loosening it, or goes down if you're tightening it. So banjo players spend a certain amount of time being out of tune. So the lid came off of the jar in the 1940s, and people were playing with first 2 of these finger picks like that. And you can do quite a bit with 2 fingers. If you play around here, you can play some notes just by doing it with your left hand. Well, by the time you put 3 on, then it's like, oh my God. So that's fancy stuff. And even lately, they figured out how to do something that was more like a piano. Well, it's not as compelling as things that have rhythm. So it's been all sorts of interesting stuff has happened to banjos.